Grandmother's Box. On a grey autumn morning, 14-year-old Leanne sat in her late grandmother's room, gently and nostalgically arranging the scattered objects. On the top wooden shelf of an old dresser, she found a small ivory box engraved with delicate patterns, resembling swirling flowers and half-faded stars. It was dusty, but it retained an antique beauty. A yellow paper was stuck to it, in her grandmother's handwriting. "Play it only when you feel something inside is calling you." Leanne felt something gently thump her heart, as if the box had been waiting for her. The first note. When she turned the side brass knob, the box began to play a strange melody, neither sad nor happy, but as if it carried memories from a time she had never known. Suddenly, she felt as if the music was coming not only from the box, but from the walls of the house, from the air around her, from the ground beneath her feet. Then she heard it, a faint whisper amid the notes. "Follow me." The music suddenly died out. Leanne remained motionless, stunned, then noticed something. One of the flower patterns on the box's cover had changed. It was no longer just a pattern. It was a small, meticulously drawn map that could only be seen if you looked at it immediately after hearing the tune. The hidden path. She followed the map. It led her to an old alley behind the public library, where no one dared to go after sunset. There she found a small door under a stone staircase. She had never seen it before, even though she had passed through it hundreds of times. She opened the door and found a long, dark corridor lit by dim lanterns that lit up spontaneously as they approached. At the end of the corridor was a round room filled with old mirrors, and in its center was a music box identical to hers, only larger and deeper. Leanne stood in amazement, then heard the tune playing again, from inside. A city beneath the melody. When she touched the box, she was drawn toward it, as if an invisible force had pulled her inside. She closed her eyes for a moment, and when she opened them, she found herself in a city unlike any she had ever seen before. Its streets were made of open books, its windows overlooking a sky that alternated between night and day every moment, and its inhabitants were music, voices walking, laughing, and singing. A girl made of the same notes approached her and said, "You're the one who heard the melody. That means Grandma's blood still beats with the keys." Leanne didn't understand, but the girl pulled out a small mirror, and when Leanne looked inside, she saw her grandmother, a young woman, carrying the same box, escaping a black shadow following her, hiding the box in her room. The girl said, "Whoever carries the box carries a duty to save the city of music from eternal silence." Chapter 5. The Return of the Lost Note. At the heart of the city stood a tall tower resembling a massive violin from which a thick black shadow spilled. Leanne knew that there resided the lost note, stolen decades ago, slowly causing the city to collapse. She entered the tower, following the melody of the box, which had returned to playing on its own in her bag. At the top, she found a huge, cracked statue, inside which hid a being of smoke and silence. It said to her, "You are the granddaughter of Melody, but you don't have the voice." Leanne understood then that the only voice that could stop the shadow was her own, the voice of her heart. So she sang, trembling, then louder, until the city began to shake. The notes returned, and the shadow disappeared, melting into her melody. Chapter 6. An End That Is Not an End. Leanne woke up in her room, the box in her hands. But she wasn't dreaming. In her hand was a new piece of paper, written in her grandmother's own handwriting. "When the melody ends, your turn to write it will begin again." From that day on, every night she played the box, and each time a new inscription opened, leading her to another adventure and another hidden secret in her city. It was as if the entire city had become a musical toy, waiting for someone to read its notes. But Leanne didn't tell anyone. Some melodies should be heard with the heart only.